Society of St. Pius X did not receive an apostolic mandate from the Pope, and so the consecrations will still proceed without that pontifical mandate, but there will be read a text explaining why the Society of St. Pius X thinks it necessary, considers it necessary to continue with this consecration in any case. That text will be read by the notary, the Secretary General, Father Foucault-Leroux, who is pictured now on the screen.
Pax Christi, Nigerian Catholics. Now the moment many Catholics feared and others expected has finally happened. The Holy See, through the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, under Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, has formally declared the Society of St. Pius X, the SSPX, to be in schism, following the illicit episcopal consecrations carried out without papal approval. The decree states that the SSPX clergy are now to be considered schismatics and are subject to excommunication under canon law. Even more seriously, the Vatican warns Catholics not to participate in SSPX activities and states that confessions and marriages administered by SSPX clergy are invalid. This is one of the most dramatic developments in modern Catholicism since the original 1988 crisis under Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre. And now the tensions that had been building for years have reached a breaking point. But then again, how did we get here? To understand why today's excommunication is such a major moment, we need to understand how this crisis started in the first place, okay? The SSPX, the Society of St. Pius X, was founded in 1970 by Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, a validly ordained Catholic bishop and former missionary bishop who became one of the strongest critics of certain post-Vatican II reforms. Lefebvre believed that the Church was moving too quickly away from traditional Catholic liturgy and doctrine, especially after the introduction of the Novus Ordo Mass and broader liturgical changes after Vatican II. Over time, tensions between Lefebvre and Rome became more serious. In 1988, Archbishop Lefebvre feared that the traditionalist movement would disappear after his death if he did not consecrate bishops to continue his work. So, he requested permission from Pope St. John Paul II to consecrate bishops for the SSPX. Rome was willing to negotiate and discussions were ongoing. In fact, an agreement was briefly signed between Lefebvre and the Vatican. But then the situation collapsed. Instead of waiting for final approval, Lefebvre proceeded to consecrate 4 bishops without papal mandate on June 30th, 1988. Under Catholic canon law, consecrating bishops against the explicit will of the Holy Father is considered a schismatic act because bishops are successors of the apostles and their appointment directly affects the unity of the Church. As a result, Archbishop Lefebvre, Antonio de Castro-Maya, Bishop Antonio de Castro-Maya that is, and the 4 newly consecrated bishops automatically incurred excommunication. Pope St. John Paul II responded with the apostolic letter Ecclesia Dei, declaring that the act constituted schism. That moment created what we now know today as the modern SSPX crisis. Years later, Pope Benedict XVI attempted to heal the division. Benedict had deep sympathy for traditional liturgy and believed reconciliation was possible. So, in 2007, he issued Summorum Pontificum, which greatly expanded permission for the traditional Latin Mass. Then in 2009, Benedict lifted the excommunications of the 4 surviving SSPX bishops as a gesture of reconciliation and goodwill. But this is important. Lifting excommunications did not fully regularize the SSPX. The society still lacked normal canonical status in the Church, and doctrinal disagreements with Rome remained unresolved. Still, under Benedict, relations became significantly warmer. Many Catholics believed full reconciliation might eventually happen. However, under Pope Francis, the atmosphere changed. Although Francis surprisingly granted SSPX priests faculties to validly hear confessions during the Year of Mercy, later extending them indefinitely, tensions over traditionalism gradually intensified. Then came Traditionis Custodes in 2021, when Francis strongly restricted the traditional Latin Mass, arguing that in some places it had become a source of division inside the church. And for good reason, if you think about it. Many traditionalist Catholics felt targeted by the document. At the same time, Rome became increasingly concerned that parts of the traditionalist movement were drifting toward open resistance to papal authority. And now, history has repeated itself. The recent episcopal consecrations carried out without papal approval have brought the conflict back to the same canonical breaking point as 1988. Going forward, several things are likely. First, the divide between Rome and the SSPX will definitely deepen significantly. Secondly, many traditionalist Catholics around the world may become even more distrustful of Vatican leadership. Third, this crisis would push the broader church into a deeper conversation about a lot of things, including the liturgy, authority, reverence, and the future of Catholic identity. But despite everything, the Vatican has still left the door open for reconciliation if members of the SSPX return to full communion with Rome. And that may ultimately become the most important question of all. Will this be a permanent separation or another painful chapter in a long struggle for reconciliation within the Catholic Church? Hopefully, this has cleared the air as to how this whole thing started in the first place and how we have gotten to where we are today. Once again, let's continue to pray for the Church, continue to pray for the Holy Father, and continue to pray for all our priests and missionaries. And I will talk to you soon. God bless you.